Welcome back to the Sam T. Blues Review on KHBT 97.7 The Bolt. My special guest tonight really is a very special guest. We've had him on quite a few times. I forgot to count how many times, but we're probably at 5 or 6. Either way, it's not enough. Not enough times. We're talking with Little Magic Sam. Sam, how's it going?
Hey, well, thank you so much. Thanks for always making me feel special and welcoming me onto your program. And thanks to all the great listeners there at Iowa for tuning into some blues and listening to a guy like me ramble on.
Absolutely. I love when you ramble. That's why I call you. So I guess the first thing that I wanted to, first off, how are you? How are you doing? How's Maya?
Oh, we've got our health and we have a roof over our head and we've got our cat.
There you go.
Good.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Practice. Yeah, lots of downtime between, in this pandemic, obviously we're not on stage, and there's a lot more time to kind of think about what we want to do next in terms of writing and recording and just plotting our next steps of attack, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the first topic I wanted to discuss with you is something that you and I off air have kind of hit on a little bit, and that is the blues in general and kind of what it means now. We're talking post-pandemic and just kind of, what it means to have that sort of entertainment in, let's say, in 2021.
Well, it's interesting. I was just checking I don't check charts a whole lot because sometimes I feel like a lot of them can be manipulated and a lot of them, people get caught up with trying to, make sure their stuff goes to the top of every chart that they read or whatever it might be. But I was looking at the Amazon music charts because I realized that a lot of people, they're either streaming their music or if they're buying physical copies, so many people are just ordering off the Amazon music store as it gets shipped to your home literally like the next day or the day after. If you're too lazy to go and walk out to your local record store. Mm-hmm. They've got a huge selection. I'm looking at the charts and I'm looking specifically at the blues charts. And it's really interesting to see what they actually categorize as blues and what people are really buying today. And I mean, there's a lot of things. Zeppelin's Mothership is right back in number 3, something like that. There's a couple like blues compilations from a long time ago. There's some really obscure stuff that's coming back, like stuff from the Downchild Blues Band here in Canada. Some of their old releases, they haven't been in the charts for years and years. So that tells me that even if people aren't specifically seeking out, traditional blues right now, the kind of atmosphere of the blues and the idea of the blues is really something that's becoming sought after again. Mm-hmm. It's something that's coming back into people's into their subconscious. They might hear something that sounds a little more soulful than they've heard lately, or something. They don't really know how to pin it down. But there's elements of blues, R&B, and soul that just keep popping up more and more and more in some of the top-selling music today. And a lot of the pop is starting to bring in elements of that as well. I think just simply because people are craving something real. They want something more organic. During this time, they feel a lot. We're feeling a lot of emotions. We're carrying a lot of emotions with us, and we're looking for an outlet. And sometimes, listening to overproduced, pop or hip hop or whatever whatever you might be into, sometimes it starts to feel cold and it feels like you're not really getting anything from it. You know what I mean? You hit a brick wall when you listen to it. And then sometimes if you just add, a blues song or a soul song that maybe you would never listen to into your list, it's gonna give you a different emotion. It's gonna pull some different feelings from you, and then it's gonna change the way that you set up your playlist or the way that you seek out music from that point on. And I just think that the elements of the blues are now kind of something that people organically are searching for and they're seeking out in their music. If you look at The Weeknd playing the Super Bowl, mm-hmm. The Weeknd is definitely not a blues singer, but I'm sure he can really sing some blues if he wanted to. He decided to sing live, which was huge because there's no safety net there. That also tells me that A, he's capable of pulling that off, but B, people don't want to hear something robotic just spit back out at them. They want to see a real performance with somebody who's really putting in the work and something that actually sounds real. Something they can sink their teeth into, and I'm really happy to see that that's happening. I hope that'll continue to be the trend. A lot of those shows are pre-recorded. A lot of the instruments aren't even plugged in, so I hope that by him doing that, it kind of gave an integrity boost to those shows.
Sure.
Because clearly people are tired of the same formulaic pre-recorded stuff. They want to see something real. In 2021, they've had the most reality, in front of their face, kind of thrown at them in this past year, whether we like it or not, and it's time for people to actually treat themselves, to something, treat their ears to something that's real too.
Yeah, I really, really like the way you put that. It's blues is one of the most just heartfelt, genuine genres out there. We mentioned 2021. We talk about the past year. Where do you see the blues going maybe 10, 15 years from now? Do you think that more people are going to be either going to the genre or just mixing the genre into, pop or rap, whatever is popular?
Well, I see the integration being something that's not going to go away. I think it's going to pick up more and more and more, but I don't know how long that's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say in another 10 years, maybe something else will come in. Maybe avant-garde jazz will find its way back in. Like,
sure.
who really knows what's going to kind of dictate the direction at that time. But I do see, these younger artists, there's even like rappers that are remixing songs over, B.B. King songs, like over classics right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they know that their listeners are getting burnt out on what they've been given for so long that they're now trying to reach back themselves and create different textures going forward because they're afraid that their music's not really going to have the longevity that they want it
sure.
to. Whereas, you look at some of these older blues artists, and some of these blues artists, they're getting way up there in age. A lot of them have health problems. They don't perform anymore. It seems like they're sadly passing away, before our eyes, and we only have some of that original crop left. What's interesting is that now, as they get older, some of these artists are being, they're finally getting the credit that's due to them. They're finally getting the awards they deserve. They're finally getting some of the streaming, some of the sales that they deserve, and some of the shows.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's only a certain amount of time left, before the younger group can really bridge that gap and make up enough time and enough space before that old guard kind of goes out. And I think when we were in Chicago last, it was really interesting to see the mixing of age group and seeing just how receptive the kind of blues veterans were to some of the young kids and the younger people, not even kids, some people that were, in their 40s and early 50s who were
sure.
just getting into blues, to see the established people, the seasoned vets kind of, shaking hands and saying, come on up, welcoming everybody with open arms because they're so thankful that at least somebody's carrying on, what they love. That's so great to see, and I hope that continues. It's great to see guys like Kingfish, who's so young, who gets to tour with some of these guys like Buddy Guy and Jimmy Vaughn and these real heavy hitters, because now, their crowds who are now retirement age, their fans who really dig their stuff and has followed them for years, they get to see this young blood, that's now kind of taking over,
mm-hmm.
taking the baton from their favorite act. So it's like cross-promotion, but it's also just so helpful to the younger generation. So I think if that keeps happening, where, this older crowd can get the younger people in front of their audience, then you can bridge this gap and keep this going. But if it becomes something where, there's a period of time where we lose quite a few legends and blues just stops being funded or stops being appreciated for whatever reason, it's fragile. And it is something that can really fall by the wayside, really quick. If it's not appreciated the way that it should be. And I think the responsibility for that is both on the new artists coming up to pay respect to the craft and to the tradition, but also to the veteran artists to kind of see the potential
sure.
and not be threatened.
Yeah, it's sort of like a sports team. Like if you got a veteran on the player, they might not be an all-star, but they can kind of guide that younger generation. So Sam, for you personally, I know that you do some covers, some amazing covers. I really like whenever you do like a Jimmy Reed song is always great. And then of course you have amazing original stuff as well. Is there something that you do, or you maybe tell, I know you teach on Zoom, or you tell your students to do to stand out? Is there some sort of originality or some sort of uniqueness that you hook onto, if that makes sense?
Basically, main rule that I follow is to work within your strength to sound the best you can. So basically, instead of looking at your favorite artist and take Adele, for instance.
Sure.
A lot of young vocalists, they love Adele. She's an idol. She's a powerhouse. She's somebody who kind of picked up where Amy Winehouse left off with that sultry kind of, soulfulness to her songs. And a lot of, especially young female artists that I teach will try to emulate her. And they'll see things she does, and they'll try to work to that level without actually kind of going right back to the basics of it and the foundation. I always try to tell them that, your favorite artist spent a long time figuring out what they sounded like.
Right.
And I think it's the same thing if you're a guitar player, if you're a pianist, any kind of instrument you play, or as a vocalist. The great thing about music is you have the gift to uniquely be you and nobody else. But the way you do that is by literally just messing around, practicing as much as you can, trying different things, jamming with different people, until you start to get this picture of what your skills are, your abilities are. And instead of always thinking about what you don't have and what you can't offer, if people spend, just a little more time, a sliver more time of actually going after the little things that they're good at and really blowing those up and pushing those to the forefront, then I think they'd be a lot more successful in finding individuality. And I tell them to find that thing that you can do that nobody else can. And it might be something tiny, and it all comes from just setting really small goals for yourself and turning off the noise of your competitors, of Instagram, of Facebook, all that stuff, and just focusing on what you sound like and what you can do to get better.
When you're talking about, finding your own skill set, I know you kind of, and I know we've talked about this a few times, so we don't really have to get into too much detail, but when you were doing Frank Sinatra and then, your voice changed, it kind of took you a minute to figure out what you were doing, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would listen back to performances and they just didn't sound right, and I wasn't able to hit the notes that I used to, and I wasn't able to pull off that material the way that I actually wanted to. And I think that's another good point, that if you can self-edit and you can take a really hard look at what you're doing, if you don't think that what you're doing serves a purpose or you could better use your skills somewhere else, there's no harm in just doing a big shake-up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Take the Etch-a-Sketch and shake it. I think a lot of people, they get locked into doing one thing musically, and it's the same thing with visual arts or with athletics or whatever it might be, career-wise. You get locked into doing one thing because you're in your comfort zone. But sometimes, you start to really wear yourself thin doing that same thing. And it just takes a little extra confidence to just say, okay, well, if I was able to do this well, then I'm sure I can channel my energy somewhere else and do it just as well, if not better. And it might take you a couple of years or longer to figure out what that is. But if I never did that, then I don't know if I would even be in the music industry today. Maybe that would be a blessing. But I'm kidding. If I never did that, then who knows if I ever would have picked up a guitar or if I ever would have wanted to perform for an audience again. Because I was pretty hard on myself at that time. My voice was squeaking, and I had terrible acne, and I just felt like I was not the total package that I thought that I once was. And then I got a big reality check and got humbled and ended up going to school for recording arts and realizing that, oh my God, there's people out there that can not only perform 10 times better than me, they already know how to do all of this stuff that I don't know how to do. So then it's catching up and trying to figure out how you can develop this thing since you've made this decision, you've gone into it. But at the same time, I've never been afraid to shake it up again. I'd love to do a jazz album someday.
That'd be great.
I'd love to do a big soul album with a horn section, a Stax kind of sound, and then take what I do with blues and kind of just infuse that into whatever project I'm in.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So the reason, Sam, I mentioned about you kind of switching genres a little bit is you have somebody you're teaching right now with, is he doing guitar and voice? Yeah,
he takes guitar from another teacher and he takes vocal from me. I found it really tough to honestly teach guitar and voice at the same time.
Sure, I can see that.
Because there's so many little things that you could just fix in person with somebody that might take you just weeks to convey. So I break it up and I teach some students guitar and some vocal, and I have a 13-year-old vocal student who reminds me of myself a lot at that age because his voice is significantly changing. And it seemed like for a while there, every week I would call him for his lesson, his voice would just drop more and more and more and more. And eventually you're trying to find material. And it's tough because, young boys know if they try to sing, then usually, they try to cover songs, their voice might be right in between a certain range. Like they might just be really awkward. It might sit in a really awkward spot. So if they try to go, a little too high, they might crack out or they might squeak. And if they try to go too low, they might bottom out completely. So some of those young ones have like a split register going on. And so this student, He's a lot of fun. He's a really, really, really smart kid. And he was just getting frustrated because he would pick songs, that 1 week he would learn them and they'd be in his range, and then 2 weeks later we go back and it'd just be like climbing a mountain. And it'd be so tough to try to get back to where he was 2 weeks ago because his voice had just kept moving so much. So I'm trying to train him how to, do his warm-ups properly, breathe properly, but I couldn't find a song. I couldn't find the right song. He wanted to do Kiss from a Rose by Seal, which is such a tough song to take on.
Yeah.
I mean, power to him because he did a great job. But, I mean, your voice has to be settled if you're going to sing Seal. So I decided, why don't we try something way low? So we tried Johnny Cash. And he had heard of Johnny Cash before. Obviously, his parents loved Johnny Cash, but he was a little too young to know any of his music. And I tried to explain some of the stories of who Johnny was and how he played to prisoners, and telling a 13-year-old that in 2021, you think that they get a rise out of them? They just look at you like you're bizarre. Like, why would anybody want to do that? Then you say, oh, B.B. King also played a prisoner. He says, well, more than one person would go into a jail and play? It's kind of funny. Times have changed, but Johnny Cash, I believe, is still somebody that if you're a young singer or a young guitar player, his stuff's really easy to pick up and play around the campfire or play as you're learning. It's really accessible. And I think that's why, like Elvis's stuff, it's hung around for years and years and years, and it won't go anywhere because it's in the fabric of American music today.
Right.
So I decided to show him Walk the Line. And finally we found a song that was perfect for his range. He absolutely nailed it. I remember the first week I checked his pitch and I realized, okay, this is going to be great as long as your voice just kind of sits where it is. And if it goes even lower, we're just going to keep dropping this song down more and more and more. And we ended up having to drop it, I think, a semitone again. And then he nailed it next week all the way through. And I just sat there with the biggest smile on my face because he was, I think, close to the point where he was about to give up. I don't think there was anything kind of left for him to try. And his confidence week by week was just going, right down into the gutter. And once he finally found a song that fit his voice, and a vibe that he liked, it was like, oh, I can do this. I'm actually able to pull this off. And it only took me a week and I worked at it. And I think that right now, with a lot of these kids being isolated, from their friends for a long period of time, a lot of them have to do online schooling. You don't have the chance to really build up your confidence and build up your skills and grow who you are, unless you're in an environment where you're around people your age or you're able to actually, work with other people. And it's been really tough to see some of these kids and see their confidence levels just sink because they've been staring at a screen all day.
Sure.
And they're losing sight of who they actually want to be. And when you're 13 and 14, you're still a little young, but you're starting to know who you are as a person and what you might want to do as time goes by. And we all know time flew so fast. From the time you were 13, all of a sudden you were 20. And you went, what happened with those years? And, I always had teachers that would follow me through and make sure that I was always happy with whatever I was doing. And if I wanted to give up music and that was my decision, then they were totally behind it. But, they would always find ways to make it more fun, more engaging for me, and more rewarding. So now with my students, if I can at least student enrolled, and not have them just drop out and lose interest and never go back, then I feel like I've done something. I feel like I've done a good job doing that. To know that music is an outlet for them and that at least they have that to go to, if they're getting really frustrated with their work or with the way that their school's going, at least they've got a place to go. And when I was a kid, that was the whole thing for me. I'd finish my homework and then it was like time to practice music.
Right.
That was my getaway.
Yeah.
And I hate to see some young people and older people who take music lessons looking at it as a chore. Because, if that's the case, then, there's lots of chores you can do around your house that you don't enjoy. You don't need to bring a guitar into it, Guitar is for enjoying music, not for feeling like it's something you're being forced to do.
All right, Sam, I've got something that I think is fun, and I don't know what you'll think of it. I'm not going to say anything else. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Here's what I want. One-word responses to the following artists, okay?
Okay.
Magic Sam.
Angelic.
J.J. Cale.
Organic.
Albert Collins.
Frosty.
B.B. King.
Royalty.
Oh, yeah. Buddy Guy.
Seasoned.
Howlin' Wolf.
Give me 1 second.
That's fine. Get your thesaurus.
I would say solid.
Solid? All right, I
Solid.
respect that. John Belushi.
Outrageous.
All right, I like to throw the curveballs in. Aretha Franklin.
Divine.
Oh yeah. Robbie Robertson.
Troublemaker.
Maya Van Reyes.
Troublemaker. Maya Van Reyes, I would say, I'd call her a blessing.
Oh, all right. How would you describe yourself?
Backdated.
Backdated? What does that even mean?
So, somebody that I feel like I'm stuck in a different time, and I feel like I'm putting out music and going after something that if I had gone after it 50 years ago, it might have been a completely different story.
Okay.
But it also makes my circumstance unique.
Yeah.
And makes me kind of want to be more authentic with what I'm doing.
Okay. It sounded like a
So
put down at
backdated,
first.
Yeah. Can I add one? Maya wants that for me.
Go ahead.
I would say wholehearted. Wholehearted.
Okay. I was ready to hit the bleep button. I didn't know what she was going to say.
Oh, no. So wait till we're on the phone for that.
So these are just some random folks that I was listing, some people I know that you admire. Is there anybody that I'm missing on that list that maybe we haven't talked about in the past, some underappreciated blues artists that you kind of want to give a shout out to?
Right off the top of my head, Joanna freaking Connor.
Oh, yeah.
Joanna Connor. So she's just had her album released. Joe Bonamassa produced it. It is #1 on the Billboard Blues charts. Did the album a whole year ago. Because of the pandemic, they didn't put it out until now. So she's had to sit on this for a whole year, which I don't know how you would do. It'd be excruciatingly tough.
Oh, yeah.
And now she's doing like the crazy press junket where she's got interviews in the UK. She's getting all these like magazine articles, and the reviews of her album were fantastic. She's somebody, like I said, I proposed to Maya at her show at Kingston Mines. She is so tough. She's tough as nails as an artist. And as a person, she's put up with a lot of crap in her life, too. I'm so happy for her. I'm so thrilled. And just to see women being pushed forward in the blues again. Like, it sucks that it took a guy with a bunch of money to just, to get her up there.
Yeah.
But, and that nobody just looked at her for her own merit. They took Joe Bonamassa's name to do that. But I like that he just got out of the way on the album and just let her do her thing.
Yeah, that is good.
Because she is absolutely phenomenal. And it's just, she personifies the blues. She's Chicago. She's tough, but she's hilarious, and she's sweet, but she's got her eye on the prize. She's a blues player through and through. She doesn't mix it up. She's just got a laser focus on what she's doing. And I admire that so much, and I want to go back to Chicago. She makes me want to move to Chicago and do it. Even if it takes years, I want to do it.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure. I'll have to listen to some more of her, because I've heard a little bit of whatever you posted, but I'll have to get, like, that whole album, because that sounds really good.
Her live stuff, too, like, there's a cover of her doing Walking Blues, and it's, like, in somebody's alleyway at a house party.
Cool.
And it's got millions of views now.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I think that's where Joe Bonamassa discovered her. It was in that video. But there's tons of videos. I mean, she played every night till, like, 3 in the morning. So, yeah, there's loads of videos of her online. So it's shocking that it took this long to actually get, like, a deal. A record deal for it. Yeah,
that's crazy. It took that long. But the past year, I know you've released some amazing songs as well. You got Too Many Hours, New Year Blues, Don't Want to Fight, Bad Luck Boogie, Pain in My Heart, One of These Days, Don't Give Up. Did I miss any?
No. Wow, it's a lot of tunes.
It's a lot of tunes. Get those, of course, on your Bandcamp page. Sam and Maya in the background, I thank you both so much. Always a pleasure talking with you guys.
Likewise, Sam. Thank you so much, and hope everybody's staying safe. And thanks again for supporting blues and giving us a platform to talk and for playing my music. It means the world.
No problem. It means the world that you let me play your music. So there you go.
You're the guy to do it. You do a great job.
Thank you, Sam.